Our final problem that we're going to discuss is if our method or our objective is to minimize instead of maximize. So if I have an objective to minimize z equals x minus 5x2, x1 equals minus 5x2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let w equal negative z, all right? And basically I'm just going to flip the signs on everything up here, okay? So we'll see how that works right here. If I want to, instead of maximize, we are minimizing. So look for that whenever you look at a problem in this section, especially. If I want to minimize and I have z equals 4x1 plus 3x2, subject to x1 plus x2 is greater than or equal to 8, we have a couple of problems there, right? The first thing I want to do is change this over to w. So w is going to equal, I've got negative 4x1 minus 3x2. So remember, all I'm doing here is making the whole thing negative. All right? And instead of a z column, whenever I create my tableau, I will now have a w column. Okay? Now, this is not in the form that we want it to be in either. Remember that if I have that problem to begin with, we have that on our first page of notes. If I have a greater than or equal to symbol here, I need to replace it with, I'm basically going to make everything negative and flip the sign. Just like if I multiplied the whole thing by a negative 1. So if I have negative x1 minus x2, it's going to be less than or equal to negative 8. Same thing goes for my next one there. I'm going to have negative 2x1 minus x2, and that's less than or equal to negative 14. Okay, so we still haven't put that into equation form. We just altered it so that I can do the simplex method on it. Whenever I put my slack variables in, we're going to have negative x1 minus x2 plus s1, and that equals negative 8. I'm going to have negative 2x1 minus x2 plus s2, and that equals negative 14. And we'll put our w down at the bottom. I've got, remember, if I were to put everything over on this side with my w, that's going to make this positive and this positive. So I have 4x1 plus 3x2 plus w equals 0. Okay? That means I can finally write my initial tableau. My initial tableau is going to be negative 1, 1, 0, 0, negative 8, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 0, negative 14, and 4, 3, 0, 0, 1, 0. Okay, so I do have that problem here that we were talking about in my previous example. I have two values over here that are negative. So I need to perform a fixing pivot to fix those. Okay, so I can choose any negative element basically within this portion of my matrix to fix with. Remember, it says I pick any negative element or any row with a negative element in it, and I pick any negative element within that column, or any column with a negative element in that row. All right, so let's say I pivot off of element 1, 1, and that is a fixing pivot, not a pivot like the ones that we were talking about in section 6.2. So I'm going to go in to my matrix, and I am just kind of cleaning things up for you guys right now. I am going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got a 3 by 6 this time, so I have 3, 5, 6. And whenever I put this matrix into my calculator, we're going to have negative 1, 1, 0, 0, negative 8, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 0, negative 14. And I've got 4, 3, 0, 0, 1, 0. Remember, all that was to go ahead and pivot off my first element here. Row 1, column 1. So I'm going to go to PRGM, hit enter 3 times. And I want row 1, enter, column 1, enter. There is my matrix. Okay, so thankfully it equals something nice. But I end up with 1, 1, negative 1, 0, 0. And I'll go ahead and get the rest of it in a second. But 0, 1, negative 2, 1, 0, 0, negative 1, 4, 0, 1. Oh, that's it. So 8, 2, negative 32. Okay, so there we go. Now, we fixed this problem of having negative constants, because this one can be negative, and actually it probably will be, because I have a minimize to begin with, and that's typically what's going to happen. Now my problem is that though this is a solution to my system, it is not optimal. I need to pivot off of this row because I have a negative, this column because I have a negative element in the bottom row. And I'm going to go through and find my lowest ratio. This ratio here will be 8. 8 divided by 1 is 8. This one here will be 2 divided by 1 is 2. So my smallest ratio will happen on that element. And that means I want to pivot off of row 2, column 2. Since it's already in here, that means all I have to do is hit PRGM, hit enter 3 times. I'm going to pivot off of row 2, column 2. And I think that's going to be it for us, because whenever I go to write this guy down, I've got 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, negative 2, 2, negative 1, 1, 1. I've got 0, 0, 1, and I have, I believe, 6, 2, negative 30. Yep. Now, I have no negative elements here, and I have no negative elements here. That means I am finally at a solution that is feasible and also optimal, and I can go ahead and write out what my answers are. Now this looks kind of funny because this negative 30 is down here, but bear with me. All right, if I go through and I say x1 here equals 6, I've got x2 equals 2, I'll have s1 and s2 are equal to 0. I have w. Remember, I've started out here with w, not z. All right, so I have w equals negative 30. But that means, since I just changed everything around to begin with, from z to negative z, that z is equal to 30. So that means my minimum occurs at, or my minimum is 30, and it's going to occur at x1 equal to 6 and x2 equal to 2.